Hello everybody, if it's your first time with us today, welcome, and if you've been here before, welcome back. We're going to be continuing our series on tactics today, and you might as well get ready to put a shrimp on the bobby, because today what we're going to be looking at are skewers, bringing out those shish kebabs. What is a skewer, and how can we use them to put the screws to our opponents? So let's take a look at our first position here and jump right into it. This is a pretty famous position you may have seen. It comes out of an endgame here. White is the one about to move. Black has just played the move h2 to h1 and made a queen, so Black has won the race. He was first one to make a queen here in the endgame, and usually that's a pretty decisive thing, but White has a little trick up his sleeve. So what's going on here? What's White gonna play? Take a quick moment, see if you can see the move. White will play the devastating a8, making the queen, and that's check on the king. And when the king moves, look at that, the queens will be exposed to each other, and White can play queen takes h1 to win. This is what we call a skewer. So a skewer occurs kind of in the opposite way to a pin, if you know how a pin occurs. When a skewer occurs, we have one piece which is attacking another in the middle here, and the piece in the middle is the more important piece. So in this situation, the king is of more importance to the queen. If you lose your king, you lose the game. So the king has to move, right? He can move to another square, maybe king e5, and then we get to take the piece behind it. The main difference between the pin and the skewer is that in the pin, it's usually the stronger piece that's on the back end with a piece in the middle that's of less importance, that's stuck. You don't want to move it or else you lose the more powerful piece. In a skewer, it's the opposite. You're attacking the stronger piece first, and when that strong piece moves, you can grab the one behind it. Let's see what that looks like in our next example as well. This is another endgame example here, a little bit different from our previous one. Black is now on the move. We notice that he has a pawn on a2. He'd love to be able to try to get that pawn to a1 and make a queen. But of course, White has a nice rook on a7. It's doing a good defensive job. In theory, if Black moves his rook, our rook should be able, or White's rook will be able to take that pawn on a2. So how can Black set up a tricky little tactic here? How can Black use that idea of a skewer to help it advance his pawn? What does Black have up his sleeve here? Well, go ahead, take a minute, think about the position, see if you can see a way to set up a nice little skewer. If you found the move rook to h1, then you have solved this nice little puzzle here. So rook h1, and what's going on here? Well, Black's freed up space to play a1 equals queen. If he had another move, he'll do that, and then White would have to sacrifice his rook to stop it. He would have to take, and Black can recapture. So White is going to go ahead and grab that pawn. Alrighty, thank you very much. Free pawn, right? What's the skewer here? Where's the big whomper? Rook back h2 check, and there's our shish kebab, folks. Once the king moves, we'll say king g3, and thank you very much. We're having a nice skewered dinner tonight. Rook takes rook, and Black will go on to win the game. Kings are very nice pieces to be able to use the skewer against, because of course once they're in check they have to move, and then whatever's behind it is free reign. But it's not only the king who can be skewered. Let's look at another position to see what else can occur. Well, this position comes to us out of an opening. It's a little bit earlier on here. The material is roughly even. Black lost his d-pawn for White's e-pawn. That's about the only trade that's happened. And Black has this powerful little battery. His bishop and queen are lined up on this diagonal. They're starting to eye the g2 square, so maybe Black's going to move that knight. He's threatening to play knight takes knight. And if we retake, he can take on g2 with checkmate, and that would not be a happy day for us as White. So we've got to figure out some way to deal with some of Black's threats. But we have a nice little way to take advantage of this awkwardness here ourselves. Remember, when the stronger pieces in front lined up along that rank or file or diagonal, maybe there's a chance for there to be a skewer. So what can white do here? How can white set up a nice defensive skewer to turn the tables back around? Well, the first move white's going to play is he's going to go ahead and play knight takes knight. This is going to draw that queen forward a little bit. Now you may be saying, wait a minute, didn't we say once we get rid of that knight, now black has that nice attack? Now he's attacking g2? Well, that's true, but it's our move still. We got one more move to make here. And what's the big move that's going to turn the tide here? How can we flip it around as white? Bishop to f3. And look at that. We're attacking the queen in the front, and when the queen moves, oh no, that bishop behind's going to be hanging, so wherever that queen goes, we're going to be able to snag that piece behind it, and suddenly, it's black who's in trouble. If black plays queen takes bishop, of course we can just take back, and then we'll have won the queen. So let's say he moves queen d6, and thank you very much, we've taken your lovely bishop. Your attack has all the wind taken from the sails, and we're happy to go on. That's a lovely skewer, folks. One last position here today to drive home the idea of the skewer, and this position is actually going to have a set of skewers for us. So black again is the pieces to move, and we're going to see how we can maybe take advantage of some of the awkwardness in white's position. We notice the material's roughly equal. White has a little bit of space here on the queen side with his pawns. It's bishops of opposite colors, which tells us that, well, the pieces who can create some more attacking chances are probably going to be a little better off because these bishops can never defend against one another. So how can black take advantage of this? What are our set of skewers we can make happen here? Take a minute if you don't see them yet. Pause the video, take a look, see if you can see them all, how black can win some material in this situation. Alright, so our first move is going to be with our rook, and we're going to bring the rook down to d1. So we're checking the king and exposing black's rook behind it. Now, this skewer didn't immediately win us anything. White's going to go ahead and play king g2. So of course, if we play rook takes rook, white's just going to recapture king takes rook, and then we're in a bishop of opposite color endgame. So how do we drive this skewer home as black? What's the move that puts everything into perspective? Well, why skewer once when you can skewer twice? Bishop to e4. So now we're giving check to the king, and of course the rook is attacked behind that. Well, white doesn't want to move the king and give that up, so he's going to play the move f3. Nice little defense, right? He's attacking our bishop, and if our bishop moves away, well, now he can even take our rook. That wouldn't be very good. But what's going to finish it off? What's our last skewer here? Bishop takes on f3. A sacrificial skewer this time, and the idea is that not only are we skewering the king to the rook, but now after king takes bishop, oh no, the rook has lost its defender, nobody's nearby, and rook takes rook will win us a piece. Well, those are our skewers. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you skewer and shishkabob your opponents in the days to come.